What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jaleesa if you are new here, and if you're someone who has been trying to debate and figure out how much is the cost of living, is it cheaper here to live in Italy than it is in the United States or wherever you're coming from, then you're definitely going to want to watch this video throughout its entirety, because I'm going to be sharing with you all how much we spend on a monthly basis living here in Italy, and I'm going to kind of compare it to what we were spending back in the States. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Want a preference, throw some things out there to make sure we're all on the same page, y'all. One, I live in Naples, Italy. That's about an hour and a half, 2 hours south of Rome. The cost of living is most likely probably gonna be different if you plan on moving to Milan, Florence, Rome, like just put some perspective there. Two, I moved out here with my husband and my daughter, and we moved out here as a military family. So I say that because I think that plays a huge role in like how much we spend on a monthly basis. One, we're a family. If you're coming out here as a student or as a single person, things may be different. And because we are connected and affiliated with the military, that plays a role as well. The first major expense, and that is our rent, how much we pay to keep a roof over our head. Now for us, we live in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. We kind of live in a quadplex. For us, for our 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, we pay 1,700 euros a month. So in US dollars, 1,700 euros kind of translates to $1,814 a month. So that's kind of how much we pay each month in US dollars. Now, I would say our apartment is probably about 1,100 square feet-ish. It's a fairly big size. It's a fairly large size. It's not like we live in like a little small box. So we have enough space for myself, my husband, and my daughter. Now, I'm sure some of you all are probably thinking like, girl, you pay 1,700 euros a month for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. Yes, y'all. But let me like just provide you all a little bit of context. Number one, if you have not watched my house hunting video in Italy, after this video, y'all go check that out, because I kind of break down, if you're coming out here as a military family, like some of the rules that you can expect when it comes to finding your place here, as well as I do show you all some of the places that we visited on our apartment hunt. And in that video, I shared that like we didn't just look at apartments. We saw 4-story like townhomes. We saw like a couple of single family homes, all within our price point of 1,700 euros a month. So just because we decided we were going to live in an apartment does not mean that's like the standard out here. Second thing I wanted to give you all is that I personally, this is my personal opinion, I believe that we are paying more a month in rent because we are living out here affiliated with the military. And I say that because I have watched other channels where people have moved out here because they are working or they are going to school out here. I watch one channel and a woman lives in Milan, and Milan is like on the top 50, maybe even the top 20th list of most expensive cities in the world to live in. And she was saying she pays like 700 euro a month for her apartment. Again, I think our affiliation to the military is what jacks up the price for us, because we're military and because the powers that be have kind of discuss certain like standards that landlords are required to provide, you know, that also jacks things up. I talked to a local Italian, and she basically said like if an Italian rents from another Italian, that landlord will set the price for how much they expect to be paid in rent, but it comes with the expectation of when I rent to you my home and you pay me rent, you are renting from me that house. You're not like, I'm not as the landlord expected to provide water, appliances, paint. I'm not expected to fix anything. When you say and decide you want to rent from me, you are renting that home. Everything else that you want to put in there, anything that happens in that home while I'm renting it to you, that's your responsibility, not mine as a landlord. But because we operate on different terms as Americans, like, I believe that they charge us a higher rent because now the Italian landlords are having to operate to our standards. Back in the States, we are accustomed to, if I'm renting from you, this is still your home. So if an appliance breaks, if the heat goes out, if I need maintenance done, like, because you are still the owner of the home, the expectation is you're still responsible for fixing it. I'm pretty sure you all are wondering, like, well, how much were you paying back in the States? So prior to moving out here, we were living in Virginia. We were living in the 7x7. Shout out to the 7x7, my hometown. And we owned a 3-story, 3-bedroom, 4-bathroom townhome in Virginia Beach. And look, when we bought our home, that was when mortgage rates was good, y'all. That's when it was good. And we refinanced when they were really, really good during the pandemic. So put that perspective out there. Like, we bought at a good time, and our mortgage ended up being like $1,100 a month for that house. To put in perspective, like apartment to apartment, when we were living in Seattle in the year of like 2018, 2019, we rented a 600 square foot apartment in North Seattle, and we were paying $1,400. In theory, like, yes, we are paying more here in rent, but I feel like if we're comparing how much we were getting as far as spaces, if we're thinking in the apartment world, I feel like it all balances itself out. I don't feel like we're paying that much more than what we would be paying for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment in the United States. While we pay €1,700, and we're definitely, like, on paper, it looks and seems like we're paying and spending a lot more here in Italy than we were back in the States for the cost of living. For us, we feel like we're actually saving money. We're out here as a military family, and because of that, there's certain benefits that we get, and one of them is OAH. Now, if you're a military family moving out here, then I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the term, which is BAH. BAH means basic allowance for housing, and essentially what BAH is, it's like a fixed payment or a fixed amount that is kind of lumped into your military spouse's paycheck that kind of helps to offset the cost of living. And you know, your BAH is dictated where you all are stationed. If you're living off base, like, there are certain factors that play into BAH. But when you're back in the States, you get BAH. OAH, which is Overseas Housing Allowance, is separate from your military spouse's paycheck, and it is a direct dollar-to-dollar stipend that the military gives your military spouse to cover their housing expenses overseas. So we end up saving money, because whereas back in the States, my husband's BAH, it may or may not cover all of your rent. It may or may not cover all of your utilities. We're just giving you a set amount based on how much we think you need to offset the cost of living based on the standards in Virginia. So it's on us to kind of manage and make sure that money can cover bills, all that type of stuff. Whereas here, the military is like, you get your paycheck, you've worked 40 hours, you get that paycheck, but because you're living overseas, we're going to give you a living stipend that covers all of your rent and utilities. So let's talk about gas next, y'all. And I'm not talking about the gas to heat up your house. I'm talking about the gas that you put in your car to go from point A to point B. So just like back in the States, we have 2 vehicles here. One we ship from the States, and the other one we bought like a little beater here. I want to point this out because the car we ship from the States is a regular car that takes regular unleaded gas, whereas the car that we purchase here takes diesel. So something to put in perspective, you all, a lot of the cars that you purchase here, they are diesel cars. And from what we're experiencing, you actually save a little bit more money in the long run having a diesel car because it doesn't burn gas as fast as unleaded cars. So in Italy, the units for gas is liters compared to in the United States, it is gallons. It's 1.8, 1.9 euro a liter for gas. But essentially, for our two cars, one that takes diesel, one that takes regular petroleum gas, so we spend about 215 euro a month, which equates to, you know, I kind of rounded it out, equates to like $230 a month to fill up our cars. And the way that I kind of broke it down is like my husband's car that takes the regular gas, he fills that car up almost like every week and a half, compared to like my car. I can go a good solid 3 weeks to like maybe even 4 without filling it up. Like, I was just in my car this morning and it's like got a half a tank, and I feel like I definitely filled it up about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So it does not burn as much gas as much as our regular cars do back in the States. However, back in the States, we were spending about $240 a month for gas. Back in the States, we had 2 cars, both use regular gas, but we were filling those cars up like every week. Every week we would fill them up. And we were spending about $30 each time we went. From the time we first got to Virginia to the time that we left, gas has creeped up. And so, you know, we started off spending like maybe $23 a week to like $30 a week. So the next expense is car insurance. And I will say for us, car insurance is more expensive out here. Car insurance is more expensive, one, because instead of us just insuring 2 cars, we are now insuring 3 cars. Because we still have my car back in the States, it is at my mom's house and she occasionally uses it. So just to be on the safe side, we still have that car covered. So just some perspective, if you are gonna be moving over here and maybe you're not gonna ship both of your cars, that's something to take into consideration. Insuring 3 cars jacks up the price. And I'm also not sure if, like, because we're using car insurance now in a different country, that may be playing a role in, you know, why the cost for car insurance is more expensive. I don't put it past these companies that, oh, you're in Italy, price goes up. To a certain extent, it may make sense just because the driving out here is crazy, y'all. I have definitely talked about it more than once on my channel, just how crazy the driving is. I will also put a heads up, if you're coming out here as a military family, your options for car insurance are Geico and USAA. Those are like the 2 options out here. If you find another company, or if you know of another company that the military allows you to use to insure your car and you feel like it's cheaper, let me know, drop it down in the comment section. But from what we were told, the only insurance options for us are Geico and USA. We pay $354 a month to insure all 3 of our cars out here in Italy. Whereas back in the United States, we were paying $132 a month to insure 2 cars. So that expense has gone up. There's no arguing it, like we spend more in car insurance out here. But again, it goes back to we're insuring 3 cars instead of 2. So yeah, it's just kind of how the cookie crumbles. The one expense that is undeniable for us that we pay significantly less for here in Italy is childcare. Oh my gosh. The childcare expense here is enough for me to be like, I ain't going back to the States, because it is ridiculous how much we pay in childcare back home in the States. So for us, there are different options for childcare out here. A lot of people, they, you know, put their child in the daycare on base. If you have a school age kid, then you've got the school on base. I went to an event with mothers who were homeschooling their kids. So there are different options for us. Parker is in an international school and we love it out here. And there are a few international school options if that is something that you want to consider when you are moving out here. But To put Parker in an international Montessori school out here, we pay 350 euros a month, which equals about $375 a month. Yes, y'all, you heard me correctly. We pay $375 a month for Parker to go to an international Montessori school out here. Now, I'm pretty sure you're wondering, how much were you paying back home in the States? To put Parker in daycare back home in the States, we are paying $392 a week, y'all, for her to go to her daycare, which ended up being $1,168 a month for her to go to daycare. We're just gonna have a little moment of silence so y'all can think about that. For what we pay in a month for Parker to go to school out here, we were paying that every week back home. Yeah, that, like, childcare, along with the fact that we get a stipend for our rent out here in Italy, like, those two factors alone, like, make just life out here significantly more affordable for us. So utilities. Now, I will say the utilities out here, at least as a military family, they're done a little weird. Since we have moved into our apartment and we've been in here, this is going on month 2, we have not paid a utility bill yet. For whatever reason, they don't bill you your utilities on a month-to-month basis, or not even on like a bi-monthly month basis. They'll just track how much you're utilizing in utilities, and then someday they'll drop that bomb on you and it's like, oh snap, like I got a $1,500 utility bill. And it's just because, like, for whatever reason, they're not like pacing it out of like, oh, here's the month of September, this is your utility bill. Here's the month of October, this is your utility bill. So put that out there in perspective. And I will also say that just like OAH, Overseas Housing Allowance, you also get a stipend for your utilities. So the military is paying you money to cover your utilities as well. So that's something else that's not coming out of our paychecks. And we just kind of estimated based on kind of how much the usage that he's been tracking and how much he thinks. We're thinking that utilities is gonna average out to be $600 a month. So although we're not paying it on a monthly basis, based on the stipend that my husband gets, we're taking that, we're saving it, and so once the utilities hits, it'll all kind of be in this bank account, and whenever they hit us with the wrecking ball of how much utilities will be, we'll just pay it. How much we were paying back in the States, we kind of figured we were probably paying about 500 euros a month. Utilities right now is really tough to kind of break down like how much we're paying, just because we really haven't gotten a utilities bill. Utilities for us encompasses gas, electricity, Wi-Fi, telepass, which is pretty much like our easy pass out here to go through tolls and stuff like that. Like, utilities is like a catch-all for those like small onesie twosie bills. So next one is cell phones. Now that is a bill that we are paying more for, but we're paying more for our cell phone because we have 2 different cell phone like companies that we're using here. Compared to back in the States, we only use one. So here, because we're in a international country, you are probably gonna wanna get a international number, because depending upon your cell phone company, it's probably likely that they're gonna charge you more for making international calls. So we both have T-Mobile, and when we got here, we ended up getting a eSIM, which is like an electronic SIM card, and we got Vodafone, which is an Italian phone company out here, and we have an Italian number. So for our cell phone bill, our T-Mobile phones as well as our Italian phones, like we pay about $205 a month for our cell phone bill. Compared to back in the States, we were probably paying like 110. Like, you're paying a little bit more out here, but it's best if you get the actual like Italian number to make international phone calls rather than like just kind of making it through this stint with your. So the last expense I want to cover with you all is groceries. That's another major expense that all of us can't get around. Y'all, I've literally tried. Well, I won't say I've tried, but there have definitely been some moments in my life where I was like, yo, if I could just figure out a way not to eat, I could save so much money and I'd lose so much weight too. But of course, there's no way around it. So groceries. Now, I'm going to preference this. Everyone's grocery bills and standards will be different than ours. I feel like for us being a family of 3, I feel like we spend quite a bit of money on groceries, but I also feel like I like to cook. I like to switch up the meals that I make. I like to make meals that if I would go to a restaurant, I could order this off a menu. So again, I say all this to say like our grocery bill may be and look a lot different than y'all. So out here in Italy, we spend about $545 a month on groceries. I know y'all probably like, girl, y'all spend a lot of money on groceries. I know, we do. But I mean, it is so like, I used to be really good at like going to the store and being like, look, this is my grocery budget. I'm not spending any more. I'm not spending any less. But now I've just kind of laxed, and it's just like, you go to the store and it's just like, that looks good. Or, I think I need this. Like, I go to the store. It's very therapeutic. Like after this video, I'm about to go to the grocery store and I'm pretty much I'm expecting to spend a bag. I will say like we spend less on the item out here than we would back in the States. Like how much we would spend on like a package of cheese is cheaper out here than it is back in the States. Again, we probably spend a whole lot more on groceries than most would, but like I said, we spend about $545 on groceries here in Italy a month. Back in the States, we were spending about $540 a month. So, you know, we're spending, again, rough estimate, $5 extra a month on groceries. Do I think we could save a whole lot more on groceries? Absolutely. I don't really have much self-control when it comes to grocery shopping. So hopefully you all enjoyed this video and it was helpful. It gave you a little perspective of what you can expect if you're about to move out here to Italy. Again, I do want to make it clear, like this is for our family and our standard and way of life. It may be very much different for anyone else coming out here. Again, it really just depends on the standard that you have become accustomed to when it comes to your way of living and just your family size. So again, just to give you a little bit perspective, hopefully this helped. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I have some other helpful videos that I plan on making just about life here in Italy and things to consider if you're moving out here. We also have some trips planned that are coming up, so you're not gonna wanna miss it. So again, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I will see you in the next video below. Bye.